We are in the third line, but we really have to start from the beginning of the Gemara, which is not much of a sacrifice because it's only 2 lines behind. Rabbi Yerushalmi said, that which we said that a Jew can assist a guy in going to press the grapes, that if they're ready, the pressers went and made an X, because then we consider it ready to be Tameh in its entirety. If they didn't make an X, they can't. Rabbi Yossi has a question. If that's the case, that they already walked in the form of an X, then even according to Mishnah Rishoina, now Mishnah Rishoina is actually our Mishnah. I'm going to learn like Pnei Moshe, even though Shad Eretz Yisrael says he's wrong, but we're going to learn like Pnei Moshe. Mishnah Rishoina, if you recall in the Yerushalmi, Mishnah Rishoina usually alludes to our Mishnayos, right? Like we had in the famous case of Kesef Kona Zazav, where the original Mishnah made its way into the Mishnayos. So the Mishnah Rishoina is our Mishnah. Let's see in the Pnei Moshe the way he learns. It says the Tani in the Pnei Moshe about 15 lines down from the top of the page. First word in the line is the Tani. The Tani b'tosef the Reish Perches Bachi Garcia Sham says there, but Yishona Yomrim. Originally it would say Ein Botzim Anochri. You can't harvest to the guy. Vein Dorchim Yisrael. You can't press grapes with the Jew who hosts a betuma, who's doing their stuff betuma. Avodorchim Anochri. But one can do pressing grapes with the goy. Chozu lomar, they went to say, ein dorchim imanochri. They went on to say, no, you know what, forget it. We're just going to eradicate that. And again, this is not our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is the Mishnah Rishoina. In the Mishnah Achroina it says, forget it, we're not going to change the standards. Ein dorchim imanochri, you don't press grapes with the goy at all. Vein boitzim Yisrael also betuma, and you don't even harvest with a Jew who's doing betuma. What you can do with a guy is harvest and carry with him new barrels which don't have a suspicion of yain netzach. But not old ones. So we can assist him with any barrels as long as the guy is in front of you. If the guy is no longer in front of you, or the barrels are no longer in front of you, to be more correct. Nasi yain nesach, we assume the wine inside became yain nesach. Now, Mishnah Rishoina said you can press with the goy after you can press with the goy, right? That said the Mishnah Achroina holds you can't press with the goy. Now, so he says, wait a minute. Mishnah Rishoina says you can press with a goy. You, Rabbi Yerushalmi, just said you can't. You can only press with him after you made an X. After you made an X. You call that you can press with a goy. What does it mean? Why do you have to change Mishnah Rishoina to Mishnah Achroina? Mishnah Rishoina says, Dorchim Mima'akum. Mishnah Achroina says, Ain't Dorchim Ma'akum. He says, according to you, really Mishnah Rishoina also ain't Dorchim Ma'akum, right? Because you can only do it after he's been matami all the wine. After he's got an X in it. It must be, he says, that Mishnah Rishoina chose that Dorchim, which is our Mishnah, must hold that it can even be Doirech without the X ahead of time. You don't need the guy to do an X before you go and be Doirech with him. You can press from the get-go. So it's Machlokes Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yerushalmi, the Gemara is going to explain it. Rabbi Yerushalmi holds in our Mishnah, when it says Dorchim Magoy, it's only once the guy made an X, going through once across and once the other way. The Mishnah Achroina holds you can't even do that. Rabbi Yossi holds no, you don't. You can do, according to Mishnah Rishoina, you can press with the guy from the get-go. You can start off with him. You don't have to wait until he's done an X in the wine press. Okay?
What's the significance of him making an X?
All this is going to be discussed. The Gemara is going to ask all this. So now I'm going to skip with the Gemara because that Mishnah Rishoina and Mishnah Achroina because we just read in the Pnei Moshe. So go down to my timer, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down. You see that? There's a mem test in the middle of the line. 7 lines down where we were. My time with Rabbi Yerushalmi. Okay, so the Sharat Israel changed it to my time with Rabbi Yossi. I think it's correct, even though the pshat he gives I don't think is correct, but I think it's correct. It has to be changed. My time with Rabbi Yossi. What's Rabbi Yossi's logic? Goes, you don't have to wait till the guy does an X. Because because the grapes are already mukshal kabel tuma when moisture seeped out of them after they had been harvested. So they became moist at that point. So already mukshal kabel tuma, then they already became tamei. So you don't need the extra guy walking through forming the shape of the eggs. It's not necessary. They're already tamei, right? That's case my time with Rabbi Yoina. Again, switching the gear. So what's the reason of reasoning of Rabbeinu Yoina? Of Rabbi Yoina who holds that you have to wait till the guy makes the X. He says very simple. Torah miuti v'Torah atuk shegzar toleim tua. Tumas betzira that the grapes are tummy after you harvest them is, as Pei Moshe brings down, one of the 18 Gzeros Chazal made at the end of the first parak of Shabbos. Because really that moisture is not nicholach. You don't want that moisture because it's not going to do you any good. It's not grape juice. It's not anything, right? So therefore, it's not metame, only midrabanan. So therefore, when does the guy actually do tumah doraisa? Only when he actually walks through and makes the X in the wine, in the wine press. So that's why he says you can't help the guy until the guy already has gone through the X. Okay? Says Mara, Cheli to Rabbi Yossi, what's Rabbi Yossi's proof? That the fact that it's Rabbanan really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. The fact that once you go harvested, that's okay. You can participate subsequently, even though you didn't walk an X through the wine, through the wine press. Me'adah, it's proof from here. Me'adah, the Rabbi Yossi, Ma Rabbi Yossi, Shem Rabbi Hila. So that which Rabbi Yossi named Rabbi Hila. Now the Girsa is really messed up. And the Girsa is messed up here, and because the right Girsa is in the Yerushalmi back in Perek Chala, in Masechta Chala, which is very different than the Girsa here. It's clearly a parallel Gemara, but a different Girsa. And the Girsa should be like it says in Chala. And it says there, the Mar B'Yisrael Shem Rila, Bedina Yod should be, instead of She'adam Poiter, 5 lines to the bottom of 58. Instead of Shebedina She'adam Poiter, Shebedina She'itame Adam es Tivlo Dvar Torah. A person should be allowed to make his tevel tummy. You should be allowed to go out and at will make your tevel tummy. Because it says, now here there's a whole line missing. It should be Vanin enasati lecha. You don't have this. Vanin enasati lechas mishmeret tzchumasi. I gave you as a safekeeping the safeguard in my truma. Truma tzricha shimur. All this you don't have. Truma must be safe kept. Veina tevel tzricha shimur. You don't have to keep your tevel. So therefore, your untight grain, you should be allowed to be matami to will. Or Yisrael should be allowed to. If that's the case, maybe last mani mekayim. What do I do with the following pasuk? In this pasuk we already have in the Gemara. When it's satem imenus trumas Hashem la'aron hakoyin, give the truma to Aaron hakoyin. Asay she nasnu la'aron bekunaso. Should make sure that Aaron gets the truma and the truma in a way which he can perform his kahuna. So really, even though there's no mishmeres, no halacha mishmeres on chulin, nevertheless there's a separate pasuk that teaches you have to make sure Aaron gets the truma properly. So even though the tevel didn't require shmira, since eventually the tevel, the untight stuff, will have tights coming out of it, truma, so therefore you have to watch the tevel like this! Not because tevel you actually have to watch. You don't have to watch tevel. You have to watch tevel because eventually it's going to become truma. Oh, but if that's the case, kan, now truth is in the chala, kan means something else. Because it has to do with chala over there. But here, kan means, here, the grain belongs, the grapes belong to a goy. Is there ever going to be truma taken from this? No. There's nissa to cause chulin to become tamei in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yossi holds that's only truma chulin, which is eventually going to become truma. But because of the truma issue. But this chulin should never become truma. Once the goy harvested it, gesundheit, you can go and be matami together with him. Okay? There's no issue inherently to be matami with him. So the fact that B'tzira only creates a tumah d'Rabbanan, that doesn't matter. Since it's the payos of a goy, so therefore you're allowed to assist him from the time he harvested already. Again, because only to read to this time you have to keep something, preserve something, and as tar, is then eventually truma is going to be taken out of it, but here no truma is going to be taken out anyway. Okay, so that's what he says. So it's eventually, you're not eventually going to give it to Aaron anyway. Rashai tel tamoisim. So therefore, Rabbi Yossi holds, even without walking an X, even from the moment the guy has been bites of the grapes, according to Mishnah Rishon, of course, you can go and press the wine with him.
No, he's pressing the wine in order to make the yayin this.
It doesn't matter, because before it becomes yayin, you could still be involved. As long as it hasn't gone down the tube. That's right. So you could still...
Even though you know...
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Okay? It's not lifnei iver, because it's not necessarily going to do it. Okay? Okay, alochiyut. Nachtom shu'oise betuma. You have a baker who's baking bread, and he's kneading his bread in tuma. So the assumption is that the issue here is challah. Lo loshim v'lo archinima. One cannot knead nor braid bread with him. But once the bread is baked, you can bring it with him to like delivery to the bakery. Okay. Taila, we learned concerning this lo losusin. You cannot moisten the grain with him. V'lo tochni, you can't grind the grain with him. V'lo chuborn, you can't sift the grain with him. Imo, together with this baker who's choshen on tuma. So there's a kashi here. Now, the truth is, this sugi is much more expanded. We're going to have a couple of issues like this tonight. Much more expansive in Masechta Shviyos and Masechta Gittin, where it's brought down elsewhere. So there it says in Masechta Gittin and Masechta Shviyos, it says that sometimes you can, now the wife of a Talmid Chacham can sift and what's the word? With a sieve. I mean, there are a whole bunch of words in Hebrew. Yeah, there's what? Not winnow. No, I know it. Boreres v'tochenes and rakeres. You can sift it. There are a whole bunch of sifting procedures and separate whatever it is. Together with the wife of an Amoritz. How come? Why? Why could she do that if he would say it's prohibited? So it says more not a question. Kind of chulin, kind of truma. Says there where the Eishes Chaver is there with the Eishes Amoritz. That's where it's say about chulin. Here it's say about truma. It says more what? Isel chmeima nachtom b'truma. What they were talking about a bakery. This is the truma bakery Inc. Where's the truma here? So it says in Chavrai want to say a different distinction. We want to say kambeloisis. It depends if you moisten the grain or not. Because if you moisten the grain, then already it is roy a kabel right? That's why you can't be involved with the baker over there. They would say about where they had moistened the grain. Says this is not a question, but rather a proof. As the terminology goes, but even with the Eishes Chover and Eishes Samar, so it's two women working together. Once the water is poured into the mixture, loti gayet, so they can't touch it there. Shem Achzin there, Avera can't assist over Avera, and of course this Eishes Samar is an over Avera because it's not makbid on Tuma and Tara. Okay. Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Ami, Charamar Charosh Batavos. Now, it's also again not at all relevant to Masechta Avodah Zarah. Let's say about a case over there. You see a guy working on Shemitah. So what are you allowed to say to him? It says, Machziki and they akum sholim b'shloimim b'shviyos. Goyim working the land. You're allowed to give them a chizuk, and you're also allowed to inquire after the health. So it says in Rechiv Rabbi Ami Chadamar Charosh Batavos. He can even say, plow it well, and I'll buy the stuff from you after Shemitah is over. B'chadamar, the other one that said, all you can say is ayasher. Yashakoyach, you're doing a fine job. Now, I'm going to switch now to Ridbaz, because the next 4 lines in the Gemara are a little bit messed up. If you look at the Ridbaz, in the second Ridbaz on the top left-hand margin, in the second line, V'chein Gasin Sham, he says, Ma damar charush batavos. He says that Machzikin is plow it well. Ma sholim b'shlomo, what does it mean that you can inquire after their well-being? Ayasher to say Yashukoyach. Ma damar Ayasher, he says that which we can mechazik them is only to say Ayasher, to say Yashukoyach. Ma sholim b'sholom, what, Mashalim Shalom, what does it mean to inquire after their welfare or after their peace? But Shalom Yisrael, you could say to them, the same Shalom Yisrael, which is Shalom Aleichem. Okay? So those are two the gradations, right? See, they're saying I'll buy it from you versus saying Ayasher, or Ayasher versus saying Shalom Aleichem. Okay? Dilma, go back to the Gemara, 4 lines hence. Dilma, a story. Rabbi Chanina bar Papa and Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman over Nachad min Chosh Shviz. Past guy was planning to Shemitah. Armalei Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman Shmuel now said to him, I share. Said Yersher Koyach. Armalei Rabbi Chanina bar Papa. Rabbi Chanina bar Papa said to him, look it out from Rabbi, didn't you teach us? The law Amru over him. They didn't say to the passerby, did not say, bless, may God bless you. Now to say I should collect the people who are plowing during Shemitah, right? So he said, he said to read a pasuk, you don't know how to expound on the pasuk. You're not expounding properly on the pasuk. Why is that? Because the way to expound is this is nothing to do with Shemitah. It has to do with the goyim of the world. They're going to pass from the world. They're the oivrim. They're going to pass out of this world. Why are they going to pass from this world? Because they never said to the Jews, Birkas Hashem Aleichem. They never bestowed blessing on the Jews. What does Yisrael say to them? We bless you in the name of God. Meaning, Yisrael says to the goyim, Lo dayechem kol ha'tovos v'hanechomos. It's not enough that all the good stuff and all the consolation, ha'boim l'olam, which comes to the world, bishvileinu, is all because of us. And you do, not only do you not tell us, come in and be blessed, you roll upon us, payasim vizimos v'galgulios v'arnos. You cause us to have to pay all sorts of taxes. Payas is one type of tax, zimus is another type of tax, glios are head tax, and anonos are real estate taxes. So this obviously had to for Jews not to pay taxes, right? Because we complained that all these taxes they've taxed us with. Okay? So anyway, so he says...
Well, the heter is because presumably they're only assessing these taxes against the Jews and not against the...
Yeah, they're unjust taxes. Yeah. Right. Hoy Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami Paskin, Lirdos Imo Asur. With a guy with a Jew who's making the bread when he's Tameh, so the baker, you're not allowed to even remove the bread with him from the oven. It's because Mesayed or Rabbeinu. With the Kavasah, similarly, Lizlovi Master, you cannot fill up barrels of wine when the wine merchant is a Jew who's suspect on Ilchus Tumah and Tara. Okay? Says more further, Mishnah further, Alachirah. A guy who is found standing next to a well or a pit of wine, milveh, if he's owed money by the Jew, usher, then it's written because we suspect that he might have tried to check out the merchandise with the wine, maybe as something to possibly collect. If the Jew does not owe any money, mutter, it's okay. If a guy fell into a bore, right, and they brought him up, he came up dead, not alive. Or a guy checked out to measure the pit of wine with a stick. Or he removed a wasp from the top of the boar with his stick. Or the guy was tapping on the foam in a barrel of wine, not on the wine itself, but in the foam on the barrel top. Kol Eloy Maisa, all these things actually occurred. Vrama, they said, the wine is not Osir Bano, but the Osir to drink, it's got to be sold. Rabbi Shimon says you can even drink it. Not also chavis, if a guy took a jug, the zork or a bar, and he tossed it into the well of wine, the wine cistern, so then Zera Maisa, this was an episode, the Chshir, and they said it's okay nonetheless. Because when he threw it in, he didn't have kavanah to libate. You don't libate by throwing stuff in. Okay? Says more further, Rav Sheish b'Shem Rav. By the way, it's very hot in here, right?
Yes.
You guys want to learn next week? I don't know if I should open the window. I think it'll be better. It's cool outside, yeah. Well, as of next week, you can learn in Linkwood at night if you would like, because this line is over Thursday.
Oh,
Okay. Rav Sheish is b'Shem Rav. Rav Sheish is the name of Rav. Now, this in the Yerushalmi is his name of Shmuel. Now, I want to tell you, I had a lot of difficulty with this Gemara. I didn't like somehow in Avodah Zarah this happens a lot. I don't know why. Every night there's a new issue, a new Gemara, which I don't like what the Mefarshim have to say about it. Maybe they're all getting tired by the end of the end of the shots, and they were slipping up. But there's one alternative shayter, which is to create a machlokas out of thin air. He creates a shita for Shmuel here, and he goes in accordingly. In other words, Rav says, Rav Sheish is saying, Rav ushayam mil v'alo sabor. The only time we suspect the goy might have been dabbled in the bore of wine is if the wine was collateral to him. That wine was collateral. So he creates an entire sheet of Shmuel's, which argues on this and holds that regardless it's also. And based on that, he explains the following Gemara, which at first I thought it was nuts, but it actually makes sense because of what you'll see presently. But it's very difficult, in my opinion, to do that. So therefore, I'm going to learn like the Mashbiach, which is a little bit more difficult in terms of pshat, but I don't have to create a whole new person in order to explain the following Gemara. Okay, you'll see what I mean momentarily. Okay? I'm not learning exactly like the Mashbiach, that's what I should point out. I'm learning like the Mashbiach, but not on Omid Beis. I'm going to deviate from what he says. Well, the truth is even on Omid Aleph. So basically, it's my pshat. Okay. After that cryptic introduction, you'll see how I learned. If you don't like it, it's just me. Rav said, "Vusha lo mil v'lo sabor." It's only if the guy had a lien outstanding that specific pit of wine. So it says Amar, this is already where I start putting in my own 2 cents. What if he doesn't have a loan on that bore? Now the Pnei Moshe reads it, it's mutter, right? If he doesn't have collateral, it's mutter. But that would be the Pasha way of reading it, even though the word mutter is not there. But that's going to be or lo chashin, Pnei Moshe says, it's going to be very difficult to sustain that in the face of the coming Gemara. And that's why here the Shmuel, the Pshat is creates the second Pshat says, and Shmuel says, even if there is no Bilva Lo Sabor. Shmuel argues and Rav holds it. It's only if it's collateral, Shmuel holds even if it's not collateral. But it's very difficult to introduce that new sheet as well. So I'm going to learn it like this. The Gemara is asking a question. Now Rav Sheish's statement, Rav Moore is asking. So what if he doesn't have a loan outstanding? After all, says the Gemara, it still makes sense. Shekain derech bali choiv lamo begitos agronos. Even if he doesn't have a lien on a specific pit. Lamaisa, if you owe me money, I'm going to go look around and see how your wine is doing to see which one of your pits I want to collect from. So, how do we learn it? So it says around Bam Maimer wanted to say. Now here, the standard way of interpreting this V'loshu Tavis, the way the Gemara in fact opens them up on Amud Beis, is Man da Omar. And they say Man da Omar X and Man da Omar Y, which sustained the Shaitar Israel's creation of a second Shita. Well, that's very difficult because we didn't find a second Shita, didn't find a second opinion. So I'm going to learn like the Mashbiach in this sense, that Man da Omrina. It's not Man da Omar and two machlokes, but rather that which we would say. So it's not 2 separate opinions, but a qualification of the 2 alternatives. If you have a loan outstanding on that specific pit, it's besochel pishu yadayim raglayim. And if the guy is standing within arm's length, pishu yadayim length, then he answers that pit. But you need 2 conditions. A, he's got a loan outstanding on it. B, it's got to be toch pishu yadayim raglayim, within a range that he could reach, right now. Again, Mando Mar says, but I would learn like Mando Minan. I would say, if he doesn't have a loan outstanding on that bor, then packets also as well, and even even further away than the guy can reach right now. Because if he's, logic being, if he has collateral on that bor, so he's only looking at that bor. He didn't wander around elsewhere. Look at this bor, is he close enough to it or not close enough to it? But if he doesn't have a specific collateral on the bor, it's much worse, because then he might be going all around and touching this, that, the other one. Maybe the whole winery is takos in that case. Okay? Says more, I don't understand how you could say that. But look at him, the Rabbos and Sheshas, Geshem Shnos to Pishu Yadayim V'Yataros, just like they gave Pishu Yadayim that halacha by Tuman Tara, Kach Nos to Pishu Yadayim B'Yayin Nesach, so too they gave such a halacha by Yayin Nesach. And the truth is, in the Rambam, it brings down a whole bunch of halachas about Pishu Yadayim. When we assume that a person touched something and made a tummy, when we don't assume a person touched something and made a tummy. And basically, if a person has the run of your house, legitimately, we assume that he touched, and he was tummy. We assume he touched everywhere. But if the person does not have the run of your house, it's only where he could have extended his hand. Okay? So now, so therefore it says, well, you know what, since we have this limiting principle, Pishi Yadayim, it says, I want to say it differently. Katie, this is the way to learn it. He says that it's when you, not he says, I slipped into the stand-up shot. That which we said, that was when he has collateral on that pit. Now here's the one change you're going to make. If you have the collateral, then that means you have free reign on that pit. So even if the pit is right now beyond your grasp, nonetheless, I suspect that you actually, if the guy is found in that winery area, so I suspect he might have actually touched that pit, and that pit is also. However, he who said it's also, in other words, when do we say that's also, even if it doesn't have a loan with designated collateral of a specific pit, that's a wilvad, only if it's, again, I'm switching the gears here, toch pishu yadayim. If it's within the span of pishu yadayim, then he might touch it even though he doesn't have specific collateral on it. But if it's beyond the span of pishu yadayim, you only suspect he touched it if he had specific collateral on it. Okay? So again, this is the kula. If he had specific collateral here, specified collateral as a pit, so no matter where he's standing in the winery, we assume he might have touched the pit. If he didn't have specified collateral, then only the pits which are within hand's reach, those were the ones you assume he touched, not any other one. Okay? Says more for that's the.
Isn't the opposite of what we said before?
Yeah. The Gemara is changing it. The Gemara is saying that Pishu Yadayim must be used as we have to take the halachs of Pishu Yadayim which you find by Tuman Tara and apply it here, which is the opposite of what we said before. That's exactly the point. In other words, just like over there, it depends whether you have free reign on the house or don't have free reign on the house. So here too, if the guy has free reign, meaning he has a designated collateral, then it doesn't make a difference whether he's within range of hand's reach or not. His stomach, he went over there, right? But if he doesn't have specific, if he doesn't have specific collateral, so he doesn't feel he has free reign to go there, then it's only things which are within his radius of his reach, no more than that. Okay? Says Rabbi Shmuel said, Rabbi Shimon, that when it's not Yayin Nesach, because he didn't touch a normal fashion, so then it's mutar b'shasir, you're allowed to drink it. Says the more Rabbi Shmuel said, Anika paras Rabbi Shimon. I am the atonement for Rabbi Shimon. That and here the somebody throws in. I don't know what they throw in. I had it written down here somewhere, but I can't find it now. It should be anyway shahaya, that he was either Omati b'shasiya or Sabat Noya. He never holds of this thing of a middle ground of Stam Yenom like when it's also to drink, but mutter to derive benefit from, either though it's mutter to drink or also by no, there's no middle ground by him. Okay? Says Gemara, on Rabbi Yerushalmi Avodah Zarah, there was a certain episode where Vahora b'Shasiya Rabbi Shimon, that somebody paskin that's mutter b'Shasiya like Rabbi Shimon, I guess Shmuel. Shmuel Avodah said, we don't pass him anyway. We don't pass that there is a middle ground. Shmuel Avodah said, "Eina nachri osa yain nesach b'zrika." A goy doesn't make yain nesach when he tosses. Now, according to our Samech, at this point we understand tossing meaning that he tossed the barrel. If he tossed the barrel, it doesn't make it yain nesach. Okay? Even if he tossed the barrel into something. No, he took a barrel and heaved it into something, into another, to a barrel of wine and heaved it into a wine pit. Doesn't make it yain nesach. Okay?
Barrel sealed.
Yeah, the barrel sealed.
So he's not in contact with the yain itself.
Right. But he is making the wine move.
Yeah.
That the chiddush is that doesn't answer it. Okay, I'm agreed.
Well, it's a chiddush, I would assume.
Right. Fine. Maybe it's not. Says more. The next question is really the real crucial question. What if he tossed something in his anger? Now, in the Bible, this case is actually in the Mishnah, but not in the Yerushalmi. And the way the Orsamech learns it actually, without getting into great detail, he says that this is talking about where you didn't just throw the jug, you threw actually the wine itself. But you threw it out of anger. The guy threw it out of anger, right? So what if you threw it out of anger? So there are two ways of looking at anger. It could be he threw it out of anger, he didn't have in mind to libate it. It could be on the contrary. He decided, I want to stick it to this Jew, right? So therefore I'm going to throw with the intent of libate. And here he's actually pouring out of the cask wine in anger into the Jew's wine. Okay? So it says, Mara Nishmina Minado, it's over here. From the case of Adar Maya, Havali Kupin, there's a certain Aramaic, certain guy who had whatever they are, goat skins or jugs, Gomatzarta within the wine press area. Asi ben chamor, and a Jew came and poured his own wine in them. Asar Amaya Kulse, the Aramean, the guy came and he was burning up. Kulse means he was burning up. There are different interpretations between Moshe, but that's how the Orach explained it. The Shapkin Lagova, and he poured the Jew's wine into the pit, which is the case not brought down in the Bible. In other words, they didn't throw that jug and toss it. He poured the wine into the pit. So what's the status in that case? So it's more a very big chiddush. Asa uvdu kum rabbanas case came from the rabbis. They said, "Eina nachri oisei yain netzach mechamaso." In anger, it's not nisuch. Is that a fascinating thing? Okay. You don't like it? You don't have to like
Bottom line issue.
That's right, it is.
Oh, you cynics, you guys. Okay. Rabbi Yerushalmi b'Shem.
That's a normal. No, I think this is psychological.
Well, obviously it's psychological.
Yeah, right.
Right? Question of das.
Yeah,
No, I agree with it. Yeah, of course.
That's psychological.
He's putting the Spindel spin on it.
Well, I understand that. I just don't think it's applicable.
No, I agree with
that. I think it's
Okay. Says more, now it's interesting, the Rambam Paskins, and he bases it on the Losh of the Radbaz. So he's based on Losh of Yerushalmi. Eino se yain nesach means it's mutter barno, but still also to drink. Yain nesach it's not, but still also to drink. Okay? Rabbi Yerushalmi Rabbi Chia Barba said, Zesha mozeg bechamin. Interesting halacha. I don't even know where it comes from. But, I mean, it comes from here, but Zesha mozeg bechamin, if the guy mixes for you wine in hot water, also, he's what's the word, diluting. Okay. Because that might be nisuch. But if you mix wine with cold water, mutter, it's okay. It's an amazing concept, because obviously mixing with cold water is not considered as chosh as mixing with hot water. I don't know why. I would think the opposite. But what can I tell you? I guess they had hot toddies. They had some hot drink. I don't know. I don't really understand it. Anyway, Rabbi Yirmiyah said, named Rabbi Chia Barba, he said, may good things befall me. I never actually relied on this kula which I myself just gave. Okay, so it's not lochamais anyway. Rabbi Yassi azal tzur. Rabbi Yassi went to Tzur, to Tyre. Chamsun shas and chamor v'chamimin. he saw them drinking wine with hot water. Varamaya Mozaki, he saw the goyim were mixing for them. Or he said it should be man sharluchon who was might to do such a thing. We no precedent for such a ritual, or such a custom. Halachi base. Hamatar yeno shel nachri. Somebody who takes wine, meaning grapes of a goy, in order to make wine out of it. Okay? So Venosa, like Bisman in California, Jews don't own vineyards, right? They buy grapes of non-Jews and they make their wine, right? So V'tayina shel nachri, Venosa b'shuso, and he puts the wine in his house. He hasn't yet paid the goy, but the house is shupasul shusarabim. The house is open to a public thoroughfare. Be'ir sheyesh ba nachri Yisrael mutter. In a city where they're both Jews and goyim, it remains mutter, the wine, because we don't afraid a goy is going to go in, take his chances and go in, and dabble in the wine based on his having a lien on the wine. Okay. However, be'ir shekulo nachrim, if the city is completely made up of goyim, also it's no good actually until you put a watchman there, because they're afraid that there the goy might feel confident enough to go in and dabble. Says more ancient shomer. If there is no other shomer, you yourself have to sit and watch. However, you don't have to sit there the whole time. You can be yaitziv nichnas, go out and come back. Okay. Shimon Elazar says, whenever there's a non-Jewish domicile in a city, and the city is non-Jewish, so that, or it has the halacha of a public thoroughfare. Has the halacha that you need a shomer. In other words, you need to have a shomer if it's in Rishus Nachri, even in another Nachris. And he's not the Balabas. Because even though you moved it to another house, not the original owner's house, nevertheless, since they're all goyim, we're afraid that the goyim are going to let each other in and do what they want with the wine over there. Okay? So it says, Amara, tomorrow's going to come back there. Somebody who's trying to work with the wine of a goy, and puts it into his own house, the Jew, and the goy writes for him a receipt that he received the money. Mutter, then we don't suspect the goy is going to come back, even though there's no padlock on the door. Yisrael lahotzi, but if the Jew wants to remove the wine, and the guy doesn't let him until he gets his money, so no, meaning he wasn't paid yet. So this was an episode in Beitran Vasu Chachamim, and Chachamim forbade it. So it's interesting in the Reisha, even though the guy is writing a fake receipt, it's a fake receipt because he didn't actually get paid, but the moment he writes a receipt, it's already out of his possession. In the Seifa, though, where you want to be honest about it, so then it's still the guy's possession. Okay? Even though it's in your house, but you didn't pay it. So if you didn't pay it and you didn't get a receipt from the guy, even a fake receipt, so it still remains the guy's. Okay? Rabbi Yossi said, Lo sof dover Pesach. You don't, it's not that you need a door. Right now, this is talking about Pasul Shusa Rabim, so you can see what's going on inside the house, right? That's what it said to be in the Mishnah. So it doesn't have to be literally a door. Even a window, which is 4 by 4 tfachim. A room asora for 10 tfachim in height. I'm not sure what 4 by 4 by 10 is. I guess its thickness is 4. I don't know exactly what it means. Anyway, it's good if it's that size, and besides that, it's Makurim Megufaf. It has a roof and has a lining to it, so that's enough to survey what's going on in the house, and the guy is afraid to switch the wine. So it says, well, that's very strange. And the truth is, the Yerushalmi probably doesn't have such a shiur. The Yerushalmi immediately rejects it. Rebbe Neymar, Rebbe is trying to talk about dimensions and quality of workmanship. If you could see a guy going to the house, you have a line of sight, so it doesn't matter how big the window is, right? Excuse me?
Yeah, the size of the window.
Yeah, it's very strange. If you can see the goy going in and out. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'm supposed to change the gears here.
If the window's too small, there are corners in the room where he's out of the line.
Yeah, so somebody brings that down. They say, but that's part of the answer.
It's like a security camera.
Yeah.
It's straight ahead and you can go on the side.
Right. So the standards were not the measurement, it's what you can see.
Yeah.
But that depends on the measurement.
Anyway, there could be that stuff. I mean, it's enough. Okay. Anyway, so if you can see then the guy going in and out, you see him going in and out, it's also the wine is forbidden. If you don't see him, so mutter, the wine is mutter because we assume that he was afraid of being seen through the window. Okay, so it's logical what the Gemara's conclusion is. That I learned that the Shara Teretz, by the way, not like the Mashbiach and the Pnei Moshe, who have a very strange pshat here. Okay. Says the Rabbi Babashan said, "Be'ir sheyesh bad l'sayim b'briach yimasnisa." Now I'm going to learn, even though I'm not 100% satisfied like the Mashbiach, that which that which you need a yotzev nichnas is in a city which can be locked, because I'm afraid the guy is going to lock the door to the city and run into your house and do yain neslach on your wine. So you have to yotzev nichnas all the time to make sure it doesn't happen. Avol, however, right. B'ir sheish b'ad l'sayim, it doesn't say about. B'ir sheish b'ad l'sayim brichum, he said it has a door and a bolt. B'dot tani shomer alf b'sheiner bo'achas l'kitzim. That it says a shomer who comes once in a while, that's sufficient but necessary. If there's no lock and key on the city, so then even that's not necessary because he's afraid that you're going to come. But basically what it means is that you need, I guess the difference is between an actual yotzev nichnas and a threatened yotzev nichnas. That if the door of the city can be locked and bolted, so you need an actual yotzev nichnas. Somebody coming in, going out and disproving the locking as being significant, right? So he can't hide behind closed doors. But if it's the door of the city cannot be locked, so he's constantly afraid you can come at any time. So in that case, you don't actually have to be physically yotzev nichnas.
When we say the city be locked, don't we mean the individual houses?
No, we mean the door to the neighborhood, so the guy can go in, sneak in. Okay? The door to the campus, to the subdivision, whatever. So it says more, Tani, Yisrael v'Nochri shekintzah sayan b'frach shalir. If the Yisrael and Nochri put the wine together in this like a storage room of the city in advance of the market day, afilu shomer Nochri, even if the watchmen themselves are going, afilu chavius psuchos, even if the barrels are open, mutaras, they're all mutar, shem naskin kain, they don't lie at that time because they're out to sell the wine. Okay? Rabbi Rosh and Rabbi Yanai said it should be hasocher kilokeach. If you rent space in a goy's courtyard, it becomes your field as if you bought it, and therefore you can bring your wine in there and store it there. Okay. B'tanya came also in the brayso echel lokeach ve'echel, it should be hasocher. They both have the same halacha that they can store stuff there. Okay. Now it says more Rishus Nachri. I think this Rishus Nachri. If you're doing stuff in the domain of the goy, Bisman Shayayin Yisrael, the wine is Jews. Yisrael Darsham, and a Jew lives there. Mutter, it's okay. That's you can make kosher wine there. It should be even though it doesn't have a lock and key. Why is that? Because the Jew lives there and he sees what's going on, right? Now I'm going to learn Israel, even though I'm skeptical about it, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? He takes out Bisman Shayan Shanach Yisrael Darsham, and he changes instead to Bim Ein Yisrael Darsham. If the Jew doesn't live there at all, mutter, it still could be okay. As long as you got a lock and key, actually a key and a signet ring, seal, because that's the only way you can safeguard it from the non-Jews. Now, the male of the Sharet Yisrael takes out the entire next line, because it says V'Mein Yisrael Darsham also have a piece of that's not true. It said if you have a lock and key, even if a Jew doesn't live there, that's okay. Rabbi Yanai said, Chalukim al Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. when it says in our Mishnah that Rishim ben Elazar says Rishus Nachri Achras, the Rishus of the Goy is one, so his friends argue on it. Says Marlo Dais Amris. Don't think it's going on in the case of the Mishnah explicitly, because that is explicit in the Mishnah. That Machlokes Rishim ben Elazar Rabbanan was the case of the Mishnah. Rather, El Hadod the Basra, it's going on a different issue. It's going on an issue later in the Mishnah. Hamitar Yeno Shel Nachri. Can you actually to make kosher wine in the jurisdiction of a goy and put it in the goy's rishus, as long as you have your own separate area and that suffices? So Rishim ben Elazar, and that would hold that does not suffice. Rabbanan would hold that does suffice. Okay, whether you sell your own separate area or not, and it has to do with this issue whether the rishus nachri is achas, whether the rishus nachri is a goy, no matter where you put it there, or can you make your own, carve out your own space there. Okay. Says a guy, it seems like it's a guy, he hired a worker to transfer yain nesach for him, to transport yain nesach. You can't take home his wages at the end of the day, because those are the wages of sin. Because how do you make those wages? By being involved in yain nesach. Right? However, if you hired him to do other work, then the work he actually did was to transport the yain nesach barrels from place to place. Nevertheless, his wages are permissible. Okay, because then the Gemara is actually going to say, so the Gemara, I don't have lo scharo and osin lo in the Reisha. Why is it also? You're paying him his wages, not giving him hanov yain nesach, not giving him yain nesach. You're paying wages for the work he did. The guy is paying wages for the work he did. What difference does it make to the work the yain nesach? Says the Gemara, you're right. They find him. You shouldn't be working in yain nesach. Tani, we learned. Now this is going to Masech L'Shvis, and it's a replication of the one Masech L'Shvis, Periches, but there's a lot missing here, so I'm going to try and be mashlim outside. Tani, Chamorim v'Gamolim, donkey drivers and porters, V'chol Osim B'Shvis, anybody who works during Shemitah, Schoran, they can get paid Shvis. What does it mean, Schor and Shvis? There are two possible meanings. One meaning is that if they get paid for working in Shemitah crop, and it's prohibited, then whatever wages they get has halacha Shemitah crop, and that's a punishment to them, right? Even though the wages are cash, nevertheless we give the cash halacha of the Shemitah crop. The other interpretation of Schar Shvius means no, they're allowed to take it. Rabbi Yizir said Peiros Hetri Mas Nisa. If the Baal Bas doesn't have any money to give them, he can give them money and pay them in Peiros Shvius. Fahid hori hai didn't Rabbi Yochanan Paskin Lin the base Raya those the base Rabbi Shelo no Nitzchabi Dayan Yain Elamos that they shouldn't get paid in Shemitah wine, they should have to be paid money. That's Rabbi Nechemia alone. He passed Rabbi Nechemia who are machmir and hold you now to pay wages with Peiros Shvius. You know why now to pay wages with Peiros Shvius? Why not? Does anybody remember why they will hold that way? Why can't you pay some of his wages with food during Shemitah? No, you can do it. You can eat a big kedusha. Because you're being poreya, you're paying off a debt which you owe with money which is not really yours. Because Shemitah's kedusha, it's half ger and it's also meant to be kadosh. So therefore, that's what they hold. So says Mara, yeah, like them Taki, you can't take your wages in Shvius, even if it's mutter Shvius. But we're not going like him. Rabbi Yalai said, which is Rabbi Hila, he said, Beperos, it should be Avera, he must nisa. No! There it's talking about Taka, where the donkey drivers are getting paid. It's Shemitah fruit! And when it says Chon Shvius, it means we find them, we sock it to them. And, they're getting paid because they did work in Shemitah fruit. Sorry. Peres Avera means that we sock it to them because they did work in Avera, in Shemitah, therefore whatever wages they collect, even though the wages have nothing to do with Shemitah, we give the wages they receive the halacha of Shemitah. Okay? Says the Gemara, Kidamar, and that's similar to that which I vote. Says Rabbi Yochanan, B'Shayin Nesach, this is Yain Nesach Knas Konsu, they find them so to over there, they find them the same way. Says the Gemara, Kitei Fimo Chavis. Now fascinating Yerushalmi. Kitei Fimo Chavis, the Chavis. This is basically, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. The guy says, I'll carry your drug for you if you should carry my drug for me. So you carried the guy's drug. So then a corresponding amount of wine in your drug becomes ulcer. Not to what you carried, but to the benefit you provided the guy. Okay, since you provide the guy's benefit by carrying his drug, even though you didn't get paid in money, you still, corresponding amount of wine in your drug becomes ulcer. So Yerushalmi says, Machlokes Bavli Yerushalmi. The Bavli holds that when does your wages become ulcer? When it's nitfas, when there's one identifiable money, which we identified as the wages of sin. But here, it's not a wages for sin issue. It's pure and simple, straight up a fine. Right? You didn't get paid for carrying his drug. He carried your drug. But nevertheless, the wine in your drug corresponding to the amount of hanoah he got becomes ulcer. It's an amazing new concept. It's not like Shemitah or Avodah Zarah tofesis dameha, not like which would be the prohibited equivalent of redemption by Meiser Sheni or Eklish or something like that. Rather, it is a knas which finds correspondence to your property. And the mother's going to go on along those lines.
Also, you're not really helping the guy because the guy could have done it himself.
I don't know, maybe not.
Well,
maybe they didn't want to.
Carry
It's not necessarily simultaneous. Could be next day, could be a week later. Okay? So, it's not just, swapping. Okay? So, Naslo Karkavishchor, what if the guy paid you, there's the same lines, the guy paid you with land. And land, in redemption, you can't redeem Meiser Sheni or Keklish on land. And here also, it was an issue of Taifis Damea, it wouldn't take hold of the land, of the real estate. But that's precisely the issue. So it's according to Yerushalmi, it's a straight up fine. So maybe even if he paid your wages in land, the part of the land becomes also, okay? Because even though, although we say, you say, ain't karkanesar, lands have become also, the karnesar, maybe though here as well. Here in because of the knas. And also similarly, Nasl Behem Schar, if he paid you with an animal. Because are all over by Avodah Zarah. Atomer ain't Davishish Boruach Chaim Nesar, so which lies that become also, the Kor Nesar maybe here becomes also, right? Nasar Lo HaKol B'Scharo. He paid you more than you're worth. He gave you a tip, basically, right? He paid you your wages and he gave you gratuity. So gratuity become also as well. Again, if it's an issue of Tavis Damea, so why would the gratuity become also, right? It's only because we hold, if it's a knas, and it's one payment, so maybe that's why it comes also, right? And that's why HaKol B'Scharo, HaKol also, we give him more, everything means here more. Is everything also, ain't also, Elad Kedei Scharo. It's only also up to his wages. Haya Osim Ovatova Sano, an amazing thing. Again, only the Yerushalmi, not the Bavli. You were working with him for free, but he's going to owe you a favor. Right? So do we make it deduct at the mashkedom in a chasav? May we deduct an imaginary sum? It's not an imaginary sum, but what the Tovas Hano is worth, like Tovas Hano a moment, and we deduct it from property which you already own. It's an amazing concept. We go to your own property, not wages you made, not even correspondence and wine in your barrel, corresponding to wine in his barrel. Maybe we go to your backyard and say, okay, we'll take this part of your backyard as a knas for you having done a favor for the guy in the eye. That's an amazing concept, right? Okay? So, Amash going to be Chaskin Kedei Scharo or not? What if you work for him half day, or you worked half a day for a guy in Yain Nezach, and half a day worked in regular commodity? What's the status? Now, the Pnei Moshe learns that the top of Lam Beis Alf is an additional question. The Shad Israel learns that this is a brisa which actually resolves the previous question. It could be either way. I can't decide. But you'll see. It's a similar idea, certainly. He was selling chulin and sheni, that's meiser sheni. He's selling them together. And he made money. So you can designate. It's a brera issue. You can designate chulin yaseh, the sheni yaseh. And the second, whatever you want to designate, you can designate. And here again, according to Pnei Moshe, the question, can you do the same thing over here? Okay, and you say, well, the half a day's wages of Isser, that's this. The half a day's wages of Heter are that. Or is that not the case over here? So according to Moshe, is part of the question. According to the Shrait Yisrael, no, that's the answer. There, you could say Breira here. And it makes sense because this is the Rabbana, right? Because we say Yesh Breira by the Rabbana, and this Knas, which they find you, Yanev the Rabbana, so it makes sense you could say here Breira. And we will stop here for today.